You are listening to SheKings with Erica and Ali. This is a podcast for peasants who don't want to live shitty lives. Every week we share insights on how to stop living out of habit and start living out of inspiration. So let's do this.
Hey.
Ta-da.
Boom. Amazing.
So we are actually recording, and our time off last week was because nothing was working. We just
Not a single thing.
it. Yeah.
But Allie, that's not why.
Oh,
That's not why.
why?
Here's why. The universe, God, Jesus, whatever you're into, Allah, was like, listen, you guys are about to really bring up some amazing energies and understandings in this next week. And so you're not ready to talk about patterns just yet. Give it a little while and then come through and blow some minds, serve some people, because we are humble servants, Allie. And if we weren't bringing the fucking fire, which apparently we weren't, because we recorded that shit 2 times, 3 times even.
Yeah, 3 times.
It was a hard pass for God. God was like,
Yeah.
terrible. So once we start, get into this, if it starts breaking up again, we'll realize we are again on the wrong path. That's good. That's cool.
And then we'll change the topic, and then everything will go smoothly.
Exactly. Actually, remember when we tried to do the law of attraction one? We've never done one on law of attraction now.
Yeah.
Yeah, God didn't want to hear it.
Try it again to see if it records.
Yeah, maybe we're better. Maybe we have something actually useful to say. So anyway, welcome people. We're about to knock this thing out for you. This is going to be a hard-hitting show on relationships and patterns with yourself and with others. And we're about to bring it. So let's just get to it. Allie, somewhere on one of these sticky tabs I said, let's just ask questions. Okay. All right.
Wait,
okay.
You have to do the whole where you are, wherever you are. Wait.
You know what? Someone just said this to me. Someone literally just said to me, because the person said to me, hey, wherever you go, there you are. Right. Yeah. And I was like, oh, so funny. You seem to be saying in such a positive and happy and beautiful way. She's like, yeah, you're just such a wonderful person. Wherever you go, you're going to be right there with yourself. You're always at home. And I was like, oh shit. I always say that in the shittiest possible way. Like, wherever you go, there you are. Your shit's fucked up. It's going to be fucked up everywhere you go. And I'm like, that's my pattern. I see the negative edge of things, and okay, I'm gonna do better.
I love that.
It's true.
Wherever you go, there you are. So, and that ties in perfect with the whole patterns and relationships. So when people come, Erica and I, and they're like, my family sucks, my boss sucks, just everything in my world is shit. And then it's always coming back to, now who's the common denominator in all of this? So wherever you go, there you are. So wherever you go and however you are feeling, then that's what everything matches. And that's how we deep dive into our patterns.
Period.
Yeah.
Period. It's so easy to see at least what your patterns are producing based on the predominant energy, the predominant emotions that you have in your life. It's like, I always feel kind of down, kind of depressed. It's like, that's what your patterns are producing. I always feel kind of frustrated and anxious. Okay, that's what your patterns are producing. But what are patterns? What are we talking about here, Allie?
I start to notice them. For me, patterns are something that shows up, and it can be shows up every week, month, year, 3 years, just something that just keeps showing up that you recognize. You go, no, I've been here before. Like, I've been here before. And then when you say I've been here before, then maybe you can start looking back at, oh, this is the words that I use. This is the actions that I take. when these things start to happen, right? So we can call them self-sabotage, right? I always self-sabotage myself when something's going right, or I sabotage a relationship when it's going right. So it's just things that you notice that come up, and then in yourself, and then outside of yourself.
Yeah. I think that internal and external is such an important thing to know, inside of yourself and outside of yourself, because we have these patterns. So I had a test that I had to take for this last 2 days. And my entire life, my pattern was to like just beat studying into the fucking ground. Like just overdo it, be super stressed out. And that's something that I've, for the most part, dealt with, for the most part, beat on the external, right? So I was like, I'm going to study enough, right? I'm going to do what I have to do enough. But internally, my pattern when something big like this comes up is to feel anxiety, right? And so I was calm. And then yesterday morning, I had to do Dutch, and I could just feel that anxiety come up because I had to go in there, and the first thing I had to do was have a 30-minute conversation in Dutch. And it's like, bitch, like, what do you mean? I have no words. Oh. And I'm working on changing that pattern. So I just accepted it. I said, welcome anxiety.
Yeah. How did that feel?
It felt, just saying that yes to the anxiety and yes to the nervousness calmed it down so much. It didn't feel like I was like, no, okay, Erica, you studied, you did everything you need to do. It wasn't some fucking tiring ass pep talk. It wasn't like, change the way you look at things and the things you look at change. It wasn't any of that. It was, okay. Anxiety came up. Nervousness came up. And so just right out of the bat, if you want to shift patterns, notice when you're in the throes of a pattern, notice when you're in the throes of an emotional pattern, and accept it. So so we're talking internal and external. And I was telling you guys that even though I had changed an external pattern, which would be to, I have a test, freak out, go crazy. The internal pattern was still there. And even though it showed up at the last minute, it showed up. And what I did is I accepted it. What other sorts of internal patterns do people have?
I think like looking at the negative in all things, right?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, this could go well, they look for all the ways that could go wrong, like just instantly, just going there and then creating that story.
We all know those people. We are like, shut the fuck, like you just ruined, it's a fucking basket of puppies and bunnies and you just shit on it. Oh, they're going to shit your house down. Like, y'all probably going to smell like piss in your house. It's like, it's a beautiful basket of puppies and bunnies. Can I just have this moment before they piss and shit the entire house down of joy, please?
Exactly.
Yeah.
My mom is a perfect example, like everything. So she's moving into this amazing apartment with my daughter who has the 3 babies to help out because she has nothing else to do. So she's helping out with the babies. And so we walk through this beautiful apartment building. Like it's amazing. And they have an indoor full-size heated pool, just crazy. And so we're all just like, oh my God, look at this pool. And then my mom just goes, ugh, chlorine. And I just like turned around and just cut my eyes at her, like, because the owner walking us through. And then upstairs is all new carpet. And then she had to be like, oh, that glue that they use for the carpet. And I'm just like, woman, if there wasn't people around you, you and I would be going just constantly just picking out the negative. Yeah.
Just yes, absolutely. What other internal patterns? First of all, that's amazing. Okay, like praise the Lord. Okay. What other internal patterns people have?
I think just shutting down, like just literally shutting down. Where
one
like, oh, something's happening, you need to show up. But just when that call is coming that you need to show up, I'm just shutting down. I got nothing. I'm
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. And to go with that one, with the shutdown, that was something I used to do a ton in relationships with other people. I could probably see how I did it just myself, but yeah, I would just go full aloof. That reminds me of Celestine Prophecy, and they talk about the 4 ways of being for people. Negative edge, and they say you're an interrogator, you're an intimidator, you're aloof, or you're a victim. And so those are like amazing patterns to understand, right? So for me, I was aloof. So when things got tough outside, I would just pull back from that shit completely. Like, and so this is kind of external stuff, but like whatever came up inside of me, I was like, I don't like feeling this. I don't like engaging with these people like this. I don't like engaging with this person like this. I'm good and I'm out. And I would just shut the fuck down. I wouldn't answer any questions. I wouldn't engage. I would just say, leave me alone. Leave me alone.
And some people think that they're doing a good thing when they have an emotion of anger. And instead of addressing the anger or being in the anger, they push it behind them or stuff it down. Like, where does it go? It's not going anywhere, right?
Yep.
So, and that can be a pattern too. I'm not going to address my sadness. I'm not going to address just something that's coming up. I'm just going to ignore it. Just ignore it. Just shut it down. Yeah. So that could be a pattern.
And then with those other ones, my mom, her pattern, and we've switched to external again, people, but her pattern is that internally she would get upset with me or someone else. And she was an interrogator. And she would just be like, explain to me why the fuck you did that. Like, just walk me through it. There was no answer. I had no, she was just asking me questions just to make sure I understood that I was a fucking idiot. Like, so walk me through it. So you got up in the morning and you thought it was a good idea to go and do what exactly? What exactly? But that's her pattern. And she would just jump into it. And I could just see her do it with absolutely everyone around her. Victims. You know, my husband back in the day, his pattern, mine was aloof, his was victim. I can't believe it. Like, you do this to me again. You know, I don't know why I stay in this relationship with someone who treats me so bad. And he would it gave him something. You know, you're taking energy from other people. And that's what patterns are all about. It's about you being right, everybody else being wrong. And then intimidators, that's another obvious pattern. Those people who, you know, they just get rageful. They just fly off the fucking handle and get in your face and, you know, drama. Yeah. And again, it's just getting energy from other people and making sure they know they're wrong and they understand and accept that you are right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that whole defensiveness, like if you have to defend yourself, that right there is a pattern. Just always defensive, proving a point, like all that is just pattern. And the crazy thing about patterns is the more you do it, right, the more that you're in this loop, the stronger they are. And then I wouldn't say the harder they are to shift it, but the stronger they are, because that's how you become to be, right? That you are this person. No, I have to prove it. Because think about it. You can have a pattern of defending yourself, being defensive, and then to break that pattern is what? Is to accept, go with it, surrender. And so that's like, for some people, that's like, what? Like, I can't be that person. And they see it as weakness. I'm not giving it. I'm not backing down. Or it's like, no, it has nothing to do with that. You want to break this pattern. So you have to do something completely different. Completely different. Yeah. So, am I frozen?
You were frozen on my side, but did you go on your side? You're okay on your side?
It was fine. Yeah.
Okay. So let's just keep going. People, are we messing up, universe? You don't like what we're saying? This shit is good. This shit is solid gold. So whatever.
We'll push through. So understanding your pattern, and then when you say this is happening outside of me, I see the pattern and you want the pattern to stop. It's never going to happen by changing external happenings, because that's impossible. You can't change people. You can't change people's behavior. So to change a pattern is you. Like, you have to be aware of it, do something completely different, and then you'll break free of that pattern, and then things around you will start to change, right? So
Absolutely.
so if you're in the same type of relationships with your significant other or your boss, or with food and your body,
Yes.
it's just because you are just reinforcing it over and over and over again. So then it's time for you to do something completely different, like just shift it out.
And I think about patterns, and um, what comes to mind also, some big things would be like addiction, right?
Yeah.
Cutting, binging,
Yeah.
purging, just so many things that are exactly where we go to when things get tough or things get difficult. Internally, what comes to mind is that book by Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life.
Yeah.
And if you want to know some internal patterns, then look at that book. In the back, it has the list of, what is it? The list of diseases that could be in your body. And it will tell you exactly what your mental pattern is for dis-ease. Where's my phone? So for example, I was talking to a client today, and she was talking about diabetics. And so I took a picture for her, and it says, your pattern of thinking, if you are being diagnosed with diabetes, is you're longing for what might have been. You have a great need to control, deep sorrow, no sweetness left. And when you really think about that, it's like a person who has an internal pattern would be, oh, something didn't go my way. And then immediately you launch into, man, it should have been like this. I can't believe this happened. How could this person do this to me? And it's just longing for a situation that is just, it's being at odds with what is.
Right.
Having the need to control, things start to feel out of control. And then you try to step up and you're like, okay, how do I fix it? You just go directly into your mind and you go into this whole thing about how you can fix it when you don't have any control. There's nothing for you to fix. Okay, I'm sorry. I feel like we were talking about something else before that.
No, the whole pattern thing is when you have the same story over and over and over again, not only is it going to show up in your outer world as far as experiences go,
Yeah.
but it does show up in your body. It has to show up in your body, because you're saying, you're feeling, you're believing a certain way. And then our bodies are what tells us, it's our barometer of, where are you at? Like, where are you at in your body? And that's why listening to your body. Oh, wow. Listening to your body is so important. Yeah, it was 85 degrees yesterday, like just sun, the flowers, like spring flowers. And today literally is a blizzard. And I heard something on the window and I was like, oh yeah, it's really coming down.
That's ice snow.
Yeah, it was ice snow. I was all tapping on the window. Not spring yet, bitch.
Full spring. That's what you had yesterday.
Totally.
You're welcome.
Like, it was like the birds were chirping. It was fabulous.
Like, so yes, no, that's what I went off on that tangent, but that's it. So you were talking about how you have to change internally. And what I love about this book is that it tells you the new thought pattern. And I think she literally uses new thought pattern for getting rid of the thing, or for letting go of the pattern that you had previously held. So for a diabetic, the new thought pattern would be, this moment is filled with joy. I now choose to experience the sweetness of today, right? Yeah. That just feels good. That
does feel good.
So what else can you do, right? So you can recognize what your pattern is. Like, I tend to go negative. It's like, I now choose to see the positive in everyone and everything that I encounter. So you could come up with mantras. I like to put mine on note cards and just flip through them whenever I'm feeling a little bit off. What else can you do to start to shift the internal so that you're having a better external experience?
I always go back to, like, you have 100% control over your thoughts. right? Your actions, your reactions, and your emotions. And so when I find myself just noticing just people that rub me the wrong way or whatever it is, I take it on myself
Yeah.
to shift it, right? To be like, I'm going to show them kindness, right? Just
Yeah.
smile. I'm going to show them patience. I just pick a word that feels good for me. And then and that's all I do. I don't change my behavior. I change how I feel. So I just breathe in like, oh, I feel so good. Right. And I might smile or do something different. And that helps to break it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Instead of just getting in the story, like what's their problem? And so then you just, instead of feeding the story to make it bigger and to solidify that pattern, just doing something, even a little thing different. Instead of not engaging, just smile. Or instead of defending yourself, saying, you know what, you're right.
Yeah.
Just do like something just totally different. Just literally shifts everything on an energetic level, a chemical, molecular level, like just something so simple
Yes.
changes everything. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So no
And
matter what
so
it is. Yeah.
very simply just breaking the pattern. Like I see what I do. As soon as things get tough, I'm like, let me grab this whole chocolate cake. Right. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to breathe into this. Right. Like I am not, even if you can delay that pattern of smashing that cake for a few minutes, like already the pattern is like, wait, what?
Yeah.
This biochemical response of like, this is what happens, this is how I respond, this is what happens, this is how I respond. It's already getting broken up because you're pushing it now for 10 minutes. And maybe you find because you have broken that pattern for just a moment, now the body's like, okay, well, let's not eat the whole cake, right? Everything's already different, right? And one of my favorite things to do is what I was talking about with preparing for the nervousness that I have with the exam, which is to fully surrender to whatever the emotion is that's coming up. So it's like, okay, I feel down and depressed today. And usually when I feel down and depressed, I just stay in bed, I stay in the darkness and like play on my phone, right? Whatever it is that one does when they're depressed. And it's like, you know what? I'm about to like just find the feeling that I'm calling depression. It's not that. That's a lie. It's just a feeling. It's just a sensation in your body. And I'm going to say, you're free to feel this. You're free to feel tired. You're free to feel overwhelmed. Yes, 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 yes. I understand feeling that you are here to save me from something that I'm afraid of. You're here to support me. And I've been pushing you away. But right now, I choose to welcome you in. And it's so crazy how quickly that what you have been calling depression is like, oh, you see me now. You're not pushing me away. You're not hiding from me. You're not telling me I'm bad. Okay. And then it can go off and play. It can go off and be at ease. I tell clients, treat these feelings like little children. You wouldn't yell at them. You wouldn't push them away. You wouldn't say bad kid, stupid kid. You say, yes, my love. Yes. Even a child you don't know, a stranger child.
Right.
If you see that child looks down or nervous or upset, you are automatically, you're softened to it. You soften to it. You're kind to it. And all of these patterns are really just, they're trying to protect you from something. They're trying to love you and support you and help you get through something. And taking the time to see those patterns with love, like real love, real understanding, real seeing, it makes them free. You can see the pattern as a child getting up to go and play now, like, oh, okay, well, I'm good, and off to, I'm a rainbow.
You are a rainbow. That sun's coming in. It looks amazing from where I'm sitting.
Rainbow. Whoever's listening on iTunes is like, what's going on? Go to YouTube, dude. I'm an actual rainbow. Actual rainbow.
You have sun blaring through the window. I have snow beating on my window.
Because we are yin and yang, Allie. Like that's why we do this together. We're bringing all sides.
All of
to
it.
this party. So,
All of it.
Allie, what's the homework for this week?
Oh man. I would just want them, our listeners, to notice the pattern, like notice your response in something, right? Um, yeah, just notice your response in one thing that you're well aware of. Like, I don't want you to search for it. Like, let me
Right.
search for it and try to find it. Something that you are well aware of. Like, this is what I do. This is my pattern, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and just notice it. And then maybe like, how can I respond differently? And it doesn't have to be an external response. It can be an internal response.
Yeah.
Can I just take a deep breath and can I just say, you know what? It's not my story. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
I'm just letting that person have their bad day, or that person wants to be right. So yeah, what does it matter? Like, just
Yeah.
let it
Oh,
go.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Because again, all patterns are at bottom, us engaging in I'm wrong, you're right. And when
Yeah.
you say, I'm going to let you be right, you've shattered the
Yes.
pattern. Let
Yes.
somebody else be right. Oh,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So write it down, people. Write down, like, whenever this thing happens with my husband, with my wife, with my boss, with my employee, I immediately launch into this, you always do this, da, 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 da. Write down your patterns and, do like Allie said and say, can I let this person be right? Can I let this situation be right? Can I let it just be what it is? I had somebody hop out of her car and curse me to high heaven the other day. And like for a long time. But it was my fault, right? Because I had been in a pattern of anger and letting it would have been one of those quiet patterns that had come to the surface because of some other things. I was just in a rageful place. And like, God was like firing, like boom, 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 just rapid fire anger at me. And I was like, I'm like, in every situation, I bet you if I told you, I always say this to my husband, if we had a panel of judges, I would be right, you would be wrong. In every one of those situations, there were a panel of judges, they would be like, Erica, you are right. And what does it give me? And so in all of these situations, and that woman cursing me to high heaven, oh my God, I had to say, you get to be right here. I'm wrong. I hung my head. I did what she wanted me to do, even though she was fucking insane. I was just like, but when I did that, and it was work to accept the rage that I felt and say, it's okay to feel this way. And I'm not about to snap off at this woman. When I did that work and sat in it, I haven't been getting yelled at recently. I haven't been in like rageful situations recently because I broke the pattern. So write down your patterns, recognize what you would normally do, and give the situation permission to be right and for you to be wrong.
Yeah. And look at it this way. So if a pattern appears, when you engage with it, you're feeding it, you're making it stronger, and it's never going to go away. So you want to take the nutrients away from it. So it will slowly start to diminish, and then it won't keep showing up in your life.
Absolutely. And one more thing. How do you engage with it? When that woman got out and cursed me out, this is my first time talking about it right now. Usually I'm like, and this crazy bitch was like, blah, 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 blah. And I would tell that story 1,000 times and everybody be like, you are so right. What a crazy person. Poor you. They would go into the whole thing.
Right.
That would have been feeding and then I would have been entitled to my anger.
Yep.
And she would have been wrong. And I'd be looking for her on the street, tiny island, like, you bitch. Right. I told you were wrong the other day. I thought about it some more. I know we don't know each other, but let's talk. And you're wrong, right? No, I'm wrong. I was out of control. And it was my energy and my negativity that brought that energy to me. I was out of control, not her. She might've looked out of control on the outside, but it was me out of control on the inside. So yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Look for these patterns. Be kind and gentle to yourself as you start to shift through it, because you might have stories just like, I feel stupid. I feel weak. I feel unworthy, like doing something completely different because you think engaging is strength. It's not strength. It's weakness. When you have to defend yourself, it's a form of weakness because you truly don't believe in yourself. So
Absolutely.
just be kind to yourself as you work through this process, and then see how the pattern starts to shift and how the outside world responds to you. So yeah, it'll be fun.
And we never make this offer, but definitely in our show notes every week, we put our contact information in there. Patterns are such a big deal. And as we were talking about this over this extra week we had, we saw how deep it goes. If you want to work on your patterns, if you're starting to, especially after this, this podcast, to recognize, shit, I've got some deeply ingrained patterns, reach out to me, reach out to Allie. This is what we do. And we love to help people, start fresh, start living. So that's the show for this week. Like us, subscribe, email us, find us on Facebook, find us on Instagram. We would love to hear from you. Any show topics, anywhere you disagree with us, how amazing we are. We love those. Those are our favorites.
Yes.
But we love you guys. And
thanks for tuning in.
Yeah,
we'll see you later. SheKings, yeah. Come on, Erica, close us out with your little whisper.